Ooh, that's a long way down, and it reminds me of the time that Bono fell off a cliff. He stood too close to the edge. And I'll leave you to figure that one out, but this is the Causeway Coast, and in my opinion, this is the most iconic and the most beautiful coastline in Ireland. But the thing is, behind that beauty lies a few dark secrets and a few terrible tales, including the time 1,000 lives were lost here in a single night. So in this video, I'm going to take you on a tour of what I think are the best 10 miles of this coastline. We're going to have a look at some of the sites. I'm going to try and find somewhere incredible to camp for the night. And I'm going to tell you some of those sad stories and hopefully a few happy ones as well. So let's go have an adventure. Our first major point of interest is going to be one of the most recognizable and iconic locations in the world. But to start with, we're here in the coastal village of Portballintrae, which is at the mouth of the River Bush, and it's a river that gives its name to one of Northern Ireland's most famous exports, Bushmills whiskey. You know, it is to my shame that I have not made more videos along here. If you've been on this channel for a while, you might remember 5-6 years ago, I ran the Causeway Coast half marathon along this route. It was my first proper trail race, and it was the trail race that really sparked my love for trail running and really got me out and exploring the outdoors again. So this place is kind of special to me, and if you think you might want to do this this trail yourself, you don't have to do it in out and backs. There's really regular bus services. That's what I did. There's a bus just 15 minutes from where I parked my van, so when I got the bus, £4, took me to Portballintrae, and then I'm able to set out. But enough talking, we've got an iconic location to get to. Just in case you haven't guessed where we're going, let me tell you the story of how the Giant Causeway came to be, the 100% true story. There were two giants, a Scottish giant, Ben O'Donnell, which sounds kind of like a kebab, and an Irish giant known commonly as Finn McCool. And for some reason, Scottish giant Ben O'Donnell didn't like Finn McCool, and he decided he was going to cross the sea and have a fight and put Finn McCool in his place. So in order to do that, he needed some way of getting across the sea, so he built himself a causeway of columns of basalt that he then used to cross the sea. And we know this is true because on the Scottish side there's still a little bit of the causeway on that side remaining to this day. So he crosses the sea, gets to Ireland, and heads to Finn McCool's house. Now Ben O'Donnell makes a lot of noise in the way there, so Finn McCool's wife hears him coming. Finn McCool's actually quite a bit smaller than Ben O'Donnell, so in a fair fight, he's never going to win. So Finn McCool's wife dresses him up as a baby, puts him in a crib, and when Ben O'Donnell turns up, looks in the house and sees Finn McCool as the baby, he thinks, if that's the size of the baby, I don't want to wait around to meet the father, turns and runs, and as he flees back to Scotland, he tears up the middle part of the causeway, and that's why it's not fully connected today. This is actually the worst possible time of the day to visit the Giant's Causeway, which is during the day when it's sunny. The best time to come here is later in the evening, right before sunset. All the tour guides are gone, no one's going to shout at you for going too near the waves, and occasionally you can be down here and have the place to yourself, and it's absolutely incredible down here at sunset. But it really is an astonishing place. I mean, just look at the shapes. Look at that. Now, you might be surprised to hear that there are actually maybe one or two geologists who doubt the story of the giant building the Giant's Causeway and think that it was actually a volcano, but I know which story is more interesting. But a story which was very real and very tragic happened just around that headland, and that's where we're heading next. But first of all, we have to tackle something right here that puts fear into the heart of a lot of tourists. We're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves here, but that's okay, because I want to talk about, you see those cool third-person shots I've been getting? Well, I've been getting them with this camera. This is the Insta360 X5. This is the latest version of Insta360's 360 camera. A 360 camera basically allows you to capture everything in all directions, and then afterwards you can sort of decide what you want to look at. And because it's got two lenses, one here, that means there's a blind spot down the middle, so this stick, this pole, becomes invisible. And this new version of Insta360's camera, it's really addressed, I think, all the major issues that people have with 360 cameras. First of all, they've upgraded the image quality, so it's now better in low light and better image quality overall. It's got a larger sensor and it's got AI processors in it, which allow it to clean up noise and give you much better low light. Here's a comparison between this and the previous version, and you can see just how much of a difference there is. They've now added a wind-shielded mic to this camera, so the audio quality out of this is so much better. That's 20-mile-an-hour winds for the Insta360 X4. Go, this is the Insta360 X5 at 20 miles an hour. Insta360 have finally given you the ability to replace these lenses yourself. You can get a little kit. If you crack it, take that off, swap it out and replace it. And it means you don't have to send it off for repair anymore. So they've now added a new free frame mode, and what that lets you do is, it lets you, when you shoot your shot, it will give you an already reframed and exported shot, either a selfie view of yourself, or you can point the camera in a particular direction and it'll give you that already exported and all ready to go. But not only that, it will still shoot the 360 file, so if you do decide you want to go back and do more with that footage, you have that option. Every time I use this camera, I'm going to put a little shot on Insta360 X5 on screen, and that way, rather than me telling you how amazing this camera is, you can just judge for yourself. And it's this switchback which leads to 162 steps. A few years ago now, I actually managed to run all the way up those steps without stopping, so I'm gonna try and do it again. We'll see how far up we get. Total fatigue. I made it up about 130 of them. That's not bad. If my voice is shaking slightly, it's because my knees are also shaking slightly. But you see that rock right there? That rock is known as the Spaniard Rock, and it's called the Spaniard Rock for a very good reason, because in 1588 the Spanish decided, we don't much like the English, let's invade them. And so they sent a fleet of 130 ships, the Spanish Armada, to invade England. But they underestimated just how bad and vicious the sea conditions can be here, and of those 130 ships, 24 of them were lost. And the most famous ship that was lost here was the Jirona, or as Puss in Boots might say, La Jirona. The Jirona was a massive warship, 50 guns and carrying 1,300 people. Now, she'd been previously damaged coming up the west coast of Ireland, but had been repaired way in the distance, way in that way, in Donegal by an Irish chieftain, McSweeney Branagh, who, much like the Spanish, also wasn't very fond of the English. But on the 26th of October 1588, the Jirona was hit by a gale off this coast and forced onto the rocks, with the ship smashed to pieces. Of the 1,300 souls above that ship, only 9 of them survived that night, and the bodies were washing up here on the shoreline for days afterwards. Over here is something incredibly unique, and I don't think there's anywhere else in this area that's got one of these, and this is the only place where you can see a column of basalt that's standing almost entirely on its own. Do you see that? My best guess, oh, I feel so wobbly here. My best guess is that that at one point was part of a much larger structure and the rest of it fell away, and you've just got this column that's left on its own. But just offshore here, 379 years after the Jirona sunk, divers found it. Really, it was that discovery and the treasure, I think, that makes the Jirona the most famous of the ships that sunk, and that became so popular that the Knack even wrote a popular song about it, My Jirona. My Jirona. I'm really not making much progress because I just keep stopping to look at the views, but I've just realised that I may have made a rather fundamental and embarrassing mistake. I've got about 200 millilitres of water left. I do have a filter with me, so I'm really hoping that there's a stream along here up ahead. Otherwise, I've only got 200 millilitres of water to do me between now and tomorrow morning, which does not bode well. Water, water. Which is kind of what I'm imagining might happen. I can't find some water. What is it? You can survive for 3 hours without water and 30 days without food, something like that. Hi sheep. Excuse me, do you have any idea where I could get some water? No ideas? They're getting water from somewhere. Where do the sheep get water from? Where do sheep get water from? Do they get it from the grass? Ooh, look at that. Wow, that's a lot of flies right there. But there's a very nice view right behind the flies. This chair has got to be one of the best spots to sit and watch the sunset in the world. I mean, just look at that. If it wasn't for the fact that I need to find somewhere to camp for the night, I would have sat there until the sun went down. What a view! Okay, I got good news, bad news, good news, and bad news. The good news is I found a water source. The bad news is I can smell slurry on the air. I can see the cows over there, and I can tell from looking at this water that it's slightly polluted. The good news is I have a filter that I have been talking about how amazing it is for the past 2 years. This should filter absolutely anything out of this water, including heavy metals and chemicals that could possibly harm me. So here goes nothing. At least it's clear. Oh no, I spoke too soon. It's a slightly yellow color. What does it taste like? It tastes fine. Okay, let's fill up my soft flask, fill this up, and hopefully I don't wake up in the night with explosive diarrhea, because if I do, Pure Clear are going to be getting an angry email from me. What a location for a camp. Ugh. This is not somewhere you want to come and camp if you've got vertigo or you're scared of heights. It's not the easiest spot to get to either, or the safest. But I mean, what? I'm looking down to make sure I don't trip in the guy lines. What a location. It's the sort of spot you need the right weather, because the ground is normally really wet here. If you look, you can see it's all dried and cracked mud. Last time I was here recceing it, it rained the day before and it was just really marshy. So I knew after it hadn't rained for a few days, this would be perfect. I'm in my X-Mid Pro again tonight. And I brought the footprint because I knew I was gonna have to pitch up on rocks and gravels and stuff, but yeah, I think I'm gonna make my dinner now and just sit here and watch as the sun goes down over there, enjoying the sounds of the sea, and this being the north coast, the distant motorbikes. But sun's nearly gone, starting to get cold, so I'm gonna layer up, get some food and settle in for tonight. And tomorrow morning you're in for a treat, because we're gonna be heading on along that coastline a few more miles to get back to where I started. And along the way, we're gonna visit a rubbish castle, we're gonna discuss a lost industry, and we're gonna visit a deadly beach. I'm gonna sit here, eat this, and then I'm gonna go to bed, and I'll see you in the morning. So, good night. I was about to go to bed, and I came out to take a photograph of the tint, and then I noticed in the background the sky was slightly pink. There's a very faint Aurora Borealis, so I've been standing here trying to take photographs with all the different cameras I've got with me, and here are some of the best ones. It pains me to do this, but I have just left out one of the best views on this entire trail and one of the nicest places to explore. And I've done that because I want to leave something for you to see if you come back and do this route. So just to let you know, I haven't shown everything. And if you do come and walk this route, there's plenty of surprises. But what I am going to go and look at, because I don't think it's a surprise at all, is the rubbish castle. And there it is. Do you see it? You can just about barely make something out. That is Severick Castle, and every year thousands of people get off tour buses to be disappointed by it. It's the equivalent of going to Egypt, being shown a giant block in the sand and being told it's a pyramid. There's nothing left of it. You got 1.5 walls left at best. To give it some credit, it has been there for a very long time. There are records going back of a castle being there over 1,500 years. In fact, St. Patrick himself allegedly visited it in the 5th century, and then it had various owners and various upgrades over the following centuries before it was eventually destroyed in the 1600s. But it's about to become famous again, because if you're a fan of the movie How to Train Your Dragon, well, there's a live action remake about to come out, and a lot of this coastline features in that movie, and Severick Castle shows up in the trailer. Next, we're going to talk about something that used to happen all around this coastline and has virtually disappeared. This is Port Braden, which in the Irish means port of the salmon. And it's places like this and all along the coast you'll find these rusted winches. These are the remnants of an industry that used to be huge here, and that was the salmon industry. There used to be salmon fisheries all the way around the Irish coast, and particularly along the north coast. Salmon fishing used to be so important in Ireland that the ancient chieftains would go to war over prime fishing spots. There used to be so many salmon here that to catch them, all you had to do was throw out a massive net into the sea just offshore and then drag it back in, and that's what these winches are. These winches were used to drag in those huge nets and those boats. But after centuries of it being a massive industry here, salmon stocks started to dwindle, cheap imports started to appear, and today all that's left of the industry are some rusted remains. And now we are heading over there to one of the most deadly beaches in Northern Ireland, and I've just realised that I've made a terrible mistake, because at the very end of that beach there's a headland very close to the sea that I have to get around, and at high tide the water comes right in and it can be sometimes impossible to get around. I should have checked a tide chart before now, but I didn't, and I'm going to be hitting that corner right at the apex of high tide, so there's a chance I'm not going to be able to get around it, or I'm going to get my feet wet. This beautiful beach is White Park Bay, and it's known for two things. One, for the fact that cows quite often can be found on the beach because they graze up in the dunes, and two, the deadly rip currents that will try and kill you if you go swimming in the sea here. This place has scared me ever since I was a child, and the day that my parents told me about the day that they visited this beach and saw bodies being pulled unresponsive out of the sea. So this place is beautiful, but it's absolutely somewhere that you just don't go swimming in the sea. Sound advice. All right, looks like I made it here. Whoa, don't fall in the sea. It's not particularly high tide today, so I'm gonna make it around the corner. Yes. Whoa. That was close. Tide wasn't as high as I was expecting, so that was surprisingly undramatic. Right, let's go and see an elephant. And there it is. You see it now? I never said it was a convincing elephant, but yeah, that rock is officially named Elephant Rock. This is a pretty cool landscape along here. You've got all these little river, little rugged islands right along this stretch of coastline. It's the only place that's like this along the Causeway Coast. It's absolutely incredible at sunset because every single one of these islands all catches the light and casts shadows. It's been used as a location in a few TV shows. I think it was in Game of Thrones. I began this video on the edge of a cliff looking down at an incredible view, so I think it's entirely appropriate that I finish up here. My van is parked over there in Ballintoy Harbour. Ballintoy is stunning, really, really beautiful, but I'm going to leave that as one of the other secrets for you to discover when you finally come and do this trail for yourself. Thanks for coming along. I hope you see just how incredible this trail is. The thing that blows my mind about the Causeway Trail is just how much variety you have. The terrain changes a lot, the backdrop changes a lot. You've just got such a variation. You've got what feels like open countryside. You've got this area like here, you've got a couple of miles of beach, you got white limestone cliffs, you got rocks, and you got that long cliff top trail, you got the Giant Causeway. It's just got so much to offer, and that's why I think it's the best bit of coastline in Ireland. Thanks again to Insta360 for sending me the new X5 that let me show it off as well as I could. And if you are interested in get one of those cameras for yourself, you can go check out the description. But that's it for me. I'm going to enjoy the walk back to Ballantoy, where I've been trying to hide it, but I'm quite desperate for the toilet. I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye. Okay, so you know the way I said this was a 10-mile route? According to my watch, I've actually done 15 miles over the 2 days, so not quite sure how I managed that.